All right, stop what you're doing, watch this video, and then go watch Final Space, because seriously, where has this show been and why has everyone been sleeping on it? Welcome to MythMachine. Let's talk about one of the most underrated shows on TV right now and why it deserves so much more attention and praise than it's been getting. Let's do this. Final Space has everything you could want from a great space adventure. Great character relationships, interesting sci-fi fantasy concepts, robots, time travel, aliens, titans, zombies. But aside from all that cool stuff, the most surprising of all is that it's got a ton of heart. And that's really what kept me watching episode after episode after episode. I mean, I binged the entire thing. The show was created by Olin Rogers, who actually has a very successful YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers. I mean, you've probably seen some of his videos floating around the internet, like this one.
So I let out the most blood-curdling scream. I released Thor in the stall. And this guy, he like freaks the crap out. All I hear is like 2 hands press up against the stalls. Just hello?
The guy's extremely talented, and not only is he the show's creator, but he also voices 3 of the lead characters. Now, when Final Space was first released all the way back in 2018, I saw the trailer, and much like the rest of the internet, I thought this looks like a Rick and Morty ripoff. But I can admit when I'm wrong, and after watching this, I can say that boy, was I wrong. The show's got an 8.3 on IMDb and an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. The numbers don't lie. And just to put it into perspective, Family Guy has a 62%, while The Simpsons only has a 76. Think of the most popular adult animation today. Family Guy, Rick and Morty, American Dad, The Simpsons. The main draw for most of those shows is the humor. The Final Space, for me, the humor is the last thing that I'm drawn to. And honestly, it's probably the weakest link for the show. And while there is a lot of lowbrow humor, maybe some potty jokes here and there that doesn't necessarily land for me, it didn't take away from the things that I loved about this show. But as the series goes on, the creators were very self-aware of this, and they even made jokes about it throughout.
I'm Gary. A lot of people on Reddit think I'm annoying. Well, I guess they have a point.
And there is still plenty of comedy throughout the series that may or may not land for everyone depending on your preference of humor, but I could tell that the creators are really passionate about the story that they're trying to tell here, and it really shows even when they don't always stick the landing. But what sets Final Space apart from some of these other shows is that instead of being an episodic comedy where the storylines don't usually connect more than loosely, this story plays out much more like a serialized sci-fi dramedy. It feels extremely thought out, like they had the whole thing planned from the very beginning. Unlike some other franchises that this may draw some inspiration from, Star Wars. Literally from the very first episode, this show starts to lay breadcrumbs here and there that begin to lead us down trails of mystery as the series continues. The first season even has a cold open before every single episode, and each one is the continuation of a scene sometime in the future where the protagonist drifts through space as he only has 10 minutes left to live before he runs out of oxygen. And with each episode, we get more and more bits and pieces of the story that add to the viewer's theories and anticipation of how we're going to arrive at that moment. I'm trying to be very vague and not give away any spoilers for this show because half of the fun is just going along for the ride, thinking about what's coming next, and being surprised because this show has a lot of surprises. But the story is masterfully crafted and told. There are tons and tons of scenes and storylines throughout that have actual stakes. We grow attached to some characters and they actually die, or characters get wounded and you actually see the repercussions of it instead of them just being totally fine in the next scene. And I really appreciated that they didn't hold back or cut away when it came to violence or blood. It's easy to dumb things down in animation, but they never shy away from any of that here. I watched a lot of the episodes with my wife, and there were multiple times where she just stopped and said, "I can't believe that just happened in a cartoon." Most episodes drive the continuing story forward, and there are a couple filler episodes here and there, but even when they aren't plot heavy, they tend to do a lot when it comes to character development or world building. And the world building in this show, I mean, the world is absolutely stunning. There were multiple scenes in each season where I would rewind just to see the artwork and animation again. The vastness of space is depicted in such a captivating way, and the artists constantly add depth to the shots that you don't see in most Western adult animation these days. The way the animators move the camera often feels very cinematic. They use lots of angles and movement that you would usually only see in a feature film. Even down to tiny details like using a rack focus, where the focus switches from one character to another, is not something that you would see often in other animated shows. But every single frame of this show, you can tell that the art and animation teams were extremely passionate about the work that they were doing. And the score is absolutely amazing in this show. I love the use of piano in many of the tracks, and the main motifs that were written for the show are incorporated and modified creatively to fit the different moods and different scenes. There are a ton of surprisingly emotional scenes throughout the show, and the music does a lot of heavy lifting in helping amplify the emotional impact of each and every one of them. There are moments that are genuinely tragically haunting. Honestly, this is a soundtrack that I would listen to just for fun. And the mysteries that this story sets up are super compelling. Seriously, I caught myself thinking about the show while I was mowing the lawn or doing work around the house, and my mind would just start to buzz and theorize just as much as I would for a big Marvel series or a Christopher Nolan movie. And for the most part, when answers to big questions were given, they were satisfying. The characters' backstories and relationships are all woven together in super interesting ways. And any major qualms that I did have with the beginning of the show were improved by the end of the first season. And then they were improved upon even further in the second and even further in the third. And because of this, the characters actually changed and grew as the story continued. Seriously, the story just keeps getting better and better, and it's just further evidence that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I'm honestly kind of sad that I didn't really give this show a shot in the beginning. Like I said, this show deserves a lot more credit than it's getting, and if you're a fan of animation or sci-fi fantasy or both, you should absolutely go check this show out because it's a fantastic binge, and I'm really excited to see where the show goes in the future. I would not be surprised if it gets renewed for a 4th season and starts to just snowball and gain a bunch of traction and fans. Seriously, if you're a fan of art, go check it out. But if you have seen it already, jump into the comments below, let me know what you thought about it. This show was seriously such a pleasant surprise. I was not expecting it at all, and so even if it doesn't get renewed for a 4th season, I can't wait to see what Olin Rogers does next. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you around.